really quickly, we are in front of the Apollo Saturn V Center. You can see all of the different mission emblems, patches for all the Apollo missions right here on the door. One in particular, this one, Apollo 1, God rest these poor Gus Grissom, Ed White, and Roger Chaffee. God rest their souls as they died on the launch pad for their brave sacrifice that they made. We wouldn't have been where we are today. Going in just a couple of minutes and watch the Apollo 8 launch film. Look at the news logos, CBS, NBC, and ABC.
This is the firing team, launch control for the Apollo missions. This is not a mock-up. These are the very consoles we sat at when men first took off to fly to the moon. The tragedy of Apollo 1 had put us a year and a half behind. We were making up for it in one big leap, and we were doing it with a rocket that no man had ever flown before. It was a few days before Christmas 1968 when Apollo 8 sat on the pad. She was the first of a new kind, a moon rocket. This was the Phoenix, risen from the ashes of Apollo 1. The first Apollo crew did not die in vain. This was to be their testament. "36 stories high, she had been fully fueled throughout the night. The liquid oxygen in her tanks caused ice to form on the outside of the craft. The extreme temperature differences between the air and the sub-zero fuel caused the metal skin of the rocket to expand and contract. Everyone who was on the pad agreed. It was as though the rocket was alive, breathing, straining at the leash. Earlier in the morning, astronauts Frank Borman, Jim Lovell, and Bill Anders had made their final preparations before taking that long ride out to the waiting spacecraft. The minimum safe distance from a Saturn V at liftoff was 3 miles. The reason was simple. When fully fueled, the rocket contained the explosive power of an atomic bomb. As the clock counted down, the astronauts and all of us in launch control went through the pre-flight checks. Our hands on the controls of the most powerful, most complex machine ever built. It had over 2 million separate systems, and to bring these men back alive, everything had to work perfectly. Each individual system had been tested, but what we didn't know was how they would perform when all 2 million began to work together. That moment would come when the countdown clock reached 0. If a maneuvering thruster failed, if communications broke down, if navigation was off by 1 degree, if any piece of the miles of wiring, circuits, relays, or valves. You are now in the final minutes before the launch of Apollo 8, right here where it actually happened. Mankind is about to leave his planet behind and journey to another. It is one of those rare moments when history is not being made, destiny is being embraced.
This is launch control, T-minus 3 minutes and counting. We have completed our communications checks with the Apollo 8 astronauts in the cabin, and the communications are go. During this period, once we do get the firing command, the various tanks within the 3 stages of the Saturn V launch vehicle begin to pressurize. We have firing command. The firing command is in. We are now on the automatic sequence. T-minus 2 minutes, 20 seconds, and counting. Our status board indicates that all aspects are ready. Instrument unit is ready. Spacecraft ready. Final check of the emergency detection system. That ready light also on. First stage preparations are completed.
All systems are okay. Okay, keep going. We're on. Ready to go to ground going. Stand by order. Okay, you're on. All systems go.
1 minute, 45 seconds and counting. The first stage liquid oxygen tank has been pressurized, and the pressure is still building up. Coming up on 90 seconds, mark, T-minus 90 seconds and counting. The Apollo 8 crew standing by, Spacecraft Commander Frank Borman, Jim Lovell, Bill Anders. We now report that the liquid hydrogen tank in the 3rd stage is pressurized, 1 minute, 15 seconds. All 3rd stage propellants pressurized at this time as we come up on the 60-second mark on a flight to the moon. T-minus 60 seconds and counting. The vehicle now is completely pressurized. We're coming up on a power transfer shortly. We have the power transfer. We're now on the flight batteries within the launch vehicle. Final reports coming from Frank Borman at this time. Final look at the switch list aboard the spacecraft. 20 seconds, all aspects. We are still go at this time. T-minus 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9. We have ignition sequence start. The engines are on. 4, 3,
Apollo 8 successfully orbited the moon, and the astronauts returned safely to the Earth. I know. I'm Jim Lovell, and I was one of the crew of this spacecraft, Apollo 8. We were the first men to see the surface of the moon from just a few miles away. But it was the hundreds of thousands of men and women who worked in that team, and the millions of people who supported the mission that really made it possible. That way, I guess we all went to the moon. Now, on the other side of those doors, you'll find an actual Saturn V moon rocket. It's still the most powerful, the most complex machine ever built.
It's not anymore.
And I guess it's the only one that can take you to another planet. I actually got to fly one on a second flight to the moon called Apollo 13. But that's another story.
Saturn V is no longer the most powerful rocket. Starship
Please
is.
watch your step as you exit
Let's go
the
see it.
fire.
All right, I wanted to check this out today. We didn't check it out last time. And this is walking up to the moon tree garden here. We got to make it quick. Oh, we got a little bit of time. Need to leave here by a little after 1 so we can get back for our chat with an astronaut. Apparently we have a shuttle astronaut we're going to meet today. But this is the Moon Tree Plaza. And all of these trees are second generation descendants from trees brought to the space, to the moon. There's 12 of them, one for each of the Apollo missions. This is the crew. Michael Collins, Neil Armstrong, and Buzz Aldrin. I believe Buzz Aldrin is still alive of the crew that is left from Apollo 11. But just neat to see all these trees, and we can quickly walk through this to give it. Over here is the launch plaza for the, you can view all the rocket launches here, but each tree is represented here for each of the Apollo missions. So Apollo 1, here's Apollo 2, Apollo 7. This is all out of order. Apollo 8, this was the launch that we saw inside. Apollo 9, Apollo 10, Apollo 11, Apollo 12, Apollo 13, this did not land on the moon as they had a technical error that forced them to come back to the Earth. That is the movie that Apollo 13 is based off on, and finally Apollo 14. And coming over here, lastly, Apollo 15. So this entire grove of trees are second descendants of these trees from the original seeds that were brought to the moon. Very neat. I know most people wouldn't probably come here, but you know, I'm now calling my space nerd, soon to be space dad, to Samantha. And again, here is the Apollo logo and insignia. As we go back into the Apollo Saturn V Center, this is my third time in this particular building. Going to have a fun-filled day. We're going to see more of this that we haven't as we've rushed both of the times we've been here. We have a little bit more time today, and then ultimately work our way back to the visitor complex to see and chat with an astronaut, and then see Atlantis. And then tonight we will culminate with the Falcon Heavy, which is sitting on the pad now. So we're here in the Saturn V Center. I have some bad news. They did scrub the launch of the Falcon Heavy tonight. It has moved back into the hangar. Unfortunately, I'm out of time. I cannot stay for that tomorrow, so unfortunately we will have to watch that live. But in the meantime, here's the Apollo Saturn V Center. That was a major bummer. So let's take a look around here. Here's the command module, command service module. As you can see too, there's hardly any people here today, which is really nice. But again, a major disappointment. SpaceX has canceled the launch for today. So let's take a look at the top of this command module really quick. I'm pretty bummed. I came down here, but still it was neat to see the rocket on the pad. Let's go take a quick look up on this command module here.
I was a command module pilot on Apollo 15, which was a lunar landing mission.
I don't understand how much room you would really get in this, but that's not much. Look at the size of these engines. Well, I guess we'll be going back to Orlando early tonight. Let's keep walking.
So that you're prepared. Now, my crew in particular, we
Some
focused on all the things that could go wrong.
holograms.
We did not worry so much about the normal flight because they would take care of itself if everything worked right.
The Fisher Space Pen. I think we should get one of these. These are really neat. Walk underneath this giant rocket. Some old photography cameras from the press site. It is a major bummer that they scrubbed that launch.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The next presentation in
Alternative contingency checklist. Lunar sample bag dispenser for collecting the lunar samples when they're walking around on the moon. Display keyboard assembly guidance computer from one of the Apollo craft. Excuse me. Spacesuit maintenance kit, sorry, go ahead. And Apollo in-flight coveralls that they wore. Let's get out of here. There's too many people in here and it's annoying. Here's another lunar sample. And that is the Apollo Lunar Treasures Gallery. Let's go back in and look at more stuff. Here's another spacesuit. This one's from Apollo 17. Space helmet, spacesuit, and moon boots used by Gene Cernan. We met Gene Cernan here back in 2009. He autographed a book that I had. Very cool to meet an Apollo astronaut. Here's a lunar rover. This was a test prototype, not actually used. Okay, these tourists are really starting to get annoying. I'm sorry. This was not used, but still neat to see. Excuse me. Lunar tool cart, again, not used. Unfolded lunar module. Lunar rover, I'm sorry. Here's the LEM cockpit lunar module, or LEM, LM. And you can actually see inside the LEM. Two people would go down to the surface of the moon and land and walk down and come in this, but not very big and not much space. And as of now, we do not have a lunar landing vehicle. They are still designing it. I would say it's probably 3 to 4 years away from at least getting back on Artemis 3. So here's the full-scale lunar module replica. And no, there is no conspiracy. We did land on the moon, so don't believe anything that you hear. We landed on the moon. This is the lunar sample you can touch. This moon rock was collected by Jack Schmidt. Is known as a mere basalt porous rock. Scientists continue to study. Let's give it a quick touch. It's neat. Now we got to touch a moon rock and part of Titanic. It's been rubbed down, obviously, and polished by good old people. Here is a place where you can stand on the moon. Well, my footprints are not working. I guess it's not that important. Well, I guess we did go into the Apollo tribute correctly last time. They used to offer a tour that you could take to go to the site, but they don't have that anymore for Apollo 1 and Cape Canaveral Air Force Station. I've always wanted to take that. I think that'd be really neat. Here's the front of the Saturn V rocket. Getting a lot of weird looks from people. Here's the bus that transported the astronauts to the launch pad back in the 60s. We'll see the shuttle one later, and also we will see, actually we won't, now it's Teslas that transport for the SpaceX. But the actual astronaut van looks really roomy. Shag carpeting and all. All right, we're going into the Apollo 1 tribute memorial exhibit. It's a little bit before 1. We're going to head back pretty quick here, but we'll take a look at the gift shop really quick first. Went through this quickly the last time we were here, but you can see here is the hatches. Well, are they going to come back or what? All right, we're waiting for this. It's going to be about 10 more seconds, and then it's going to reveal the hatch that malfunctioned and would not open, and a fire caused the accident that killed the 3 astronauts on Apollo 1. And now here are the hatch covers. If this thing would, yep, there we go. There's the outer hatch, inner door, inner part of the hatch, actual block hatch of the Apollo 1 spacecraft. This is the hatch, inner part of the hatch that malfunctioned and did not open when there was a fire and an explosion, and oxygen was part of what ignited that fire. So, again, boost protective color covers the spacecraft hatch during launch. Main inner spacecraft hatch removed inwards, and these are off now. So these are the personnel that were on that duty that day to help. And then lastly is the insignia for the launch site, and then we'll go here and walk off the launch tower for all the different Apollo missions here. And lastly, a view inside the launch capsule as the 3 astronauts are waiting. Getting ready to take off. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the complete tour of the Saturn V Center. We're going to head back now and go back to the lunch with an astronaut. And I just got a notification I have to check in for my flight, so I'll do that shortly. This is David signing off from the Apollo Saturn V Center. See you back at the visitors complex. I'm not sure what this is, but it's might be part of a core stage for the SLS. Definitely something. Huh. Yeah, that's not a Falcon part. That's part of the SLS. It's another component coming through. This is not SpaceX. It Looks like part of the SLS rocket space launch system for NASA. SpaceX wouldn't bring components toward the vehicle assembly building.